Hi, my name is Amber Jensen, and this is my special education law presentation. To understand the battles being fought today for children with disabilities, it is important to understand the history and the traditions that goes with public schools and education. So a brief history of special education before 1970s. Special education came into existence about 50 years ago. For nearly 200 years after the United States was established in 1776, little was done to advance the rights for disabled students. So over 4 million children denied access to schooling before legislations were ensured equal education opportunities for special education students began in the early 1970s. It was the parents of those children that were the first to stand up and fight for equal education for all students as far back as 1933. And because of those parents, in 1950, they made big enough waves to encourage the passage of laws that provided training for teachers that worked with deaf, hard of hearing, and the intelligent disabled students. In 1960, multiple laws were passed granting funds and for special education students. So then a brief history from the 1970s to about now. In the early 1970s, multiple landmark courts gave states the responsibility to provide special education resources and schooling to all students that are in need of it. The Rehabilitation Act of 1973 guaranteed civil rights to all disabled students and required accommodations for disabled students in schools. In 1975, the Education of All Handicapped Children Act, or the EHA, guaranteed and enforced the right of children with disabilities to receive a free and appropriate education. The Education for All Handicapped Children Act went through many changes and tried to make it a little bit better in 1997. And it then became known as the Individuals with Disability Education Act, or IDEA. In 2001 and 2004, the No Child Left Behind Act, or the NCLB, was provided further accountabilities to schools and to add technology assistance and loan programs to help schools require needed special education resources. So a little bit of a backstory about the rights of children brings us to Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. The African American students was denied to go to public schools because the laws allowing public education to be segregated by race. The segregation violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. And Brown was the one who overturned Percy versus Ferguson and disabled that the separation educational factors are inherently unequal. The Warren Court agreed and explained that the separate but equal doctrine did violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment and ordered an end to the legal mandate race segregation for schools. So this brought us to everybody has the same rights. We all, no matter what the race, we all have rights and we all get the same education. Wisconsin versus Yodel 1972, Wisconsin mandated that all children attended public school until about age 16, but John Yodel, a religious Amish man, refused to send his children to school past the 8th grade. He argued that his children did not need to be in school that long to lead a fulfilling Amish life on farming and doing the work at home. Keeping his children in school for that long would corrupt their faith. The court agreed with him, and they carved out an exception for Yodel and others in similar situations. So because of his faith, they had rights. They couldn't make his children or people with different religions go to school if it goes against their beliefs. And 3 resources that I found that would help me stay up to date and knowing what the state that I live in and what the government expects me as a teacher was one I found on the Idaho State Department of Education is special education material, so that it's a resource that I found that has almost everything that I need to be up to date with what my state expects me to teach my students. And they're the Common Core Standards and Special Education, Federal Law versus State Law. These 2 sources will help me stay up to date with the changes that the Common Core will change, how they change, and what I need to stay up on date with. And the special education law versus federal law versus state law is where I still have to meet my state laws as a teacher and how I can still meet how the federal want me to stay in line. And yeah, so thank you for watching.